Nā reira whakataha atu rā te pō, whakataha atu rā te uriuri nunumi ngā here o te pō. Ka ngāweke mai te rā, ka ngāweke mai te marama, hihiri te rā, hihiri te kōpura, kōriro, e ngaua nei e te kauairaro o mahuika. E tāne e karawhiua mai te toki a tahua ki rangi kia tā kirikiri mai te ata hāpara. Ka pō te ara whānui a tāne e takia mai te wehenga, arangi nui e tūnei a papatua nuku e takato nei. A tūturu whakamaua kia tīna, haumi e hui e tāiki e. A mōrena tēnā tātou, and welcome to our whānau that are gathered here at Whareroa Marae. O tira ki au koutou katoa, e tū hono mai i te pāpāho mataora i te atanei, tēnā koutou ka whātoro atu ki a koutou, me te aroha nui ki a koutou i tēnei wā tonu. Nau mai, whakahono mai e te iwi. So just reaching out and acknowledging our whānau that are joining us as well this morning on the live stream. So we're broadcasting live and proud out to the world from here at Whareroa Marae. Nō reira, e mihi kauana ki a tātou. Acknowledgements to those that are gathered here in person this morning and also to you who are connected in. Ko wai tēnei e tuatu nei, ko Josh te kani tēnei, he uri o tēnei whare anō, e tuiti nei I raro I tōna mahau ki te mihi atu ki a tātou. So a descendant of this humble whare of Rauru Kītahi, gives the greetings this morning and welcomes you all here. So before we get into the rest of the proceedings this morning, just again thank you to Pahu, our kai karakia, for opening our time this morning. And also I would like to invite for further blessings as we continue our proceedings and welcome Pastor Andrew Kalassingham from Welcome Bay Community Church for the church blessings this morning. Nō reira, ai te rangatira, Pastor Andrew, welcome to the stand.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Bukit Timiang tōku maunga, ko Straits of Malacca tōku moana, ko Malaysia tōku iwi, ko Tamil tōku hapu, ko Kulasingam tōku whānau, ko Anaru tōku ingoa. That's all I have. I just want to thank the committee and the leadership for giving me this opportunity to say a few words in this very auspicious Waitangi Day. I think Waitangi Day is growing in its importance to all of us who call Aotearoa, New Zealand, our home. The dawn services are becoming more and more significant, I think, to all of us. For me, it's significant because that's where, when I first, with my family, first began attending dawn services, that's where I got the awareness and the longing to be part of this journey that this nation is taking together. There's this saying that seems to be growing now, this phrase, these two words, tangata tiriti. And I'm drawn to it. It's a concept that says that the Tau Iwi of Aotearoa, the Pākehā, along with all the ethnic groups, to gather together and be part of this call to partner with Tangata Whenua of Aotearoa and to see this dream, this vision come to pass where Aotearoa New Zealand becomes a treaty-centric nation. And I'm drawn to that concept. And so I use these dawn services as a time of reflection for me, to see what am I doing, what is my part in this journey towards this dream. And so this morning I'm going to use these few minutes to dream aloud and to just share aloud, reflecting whether I've taken any steps towards this journey. And they are baby steps. the first baby step was to try and give my introduction in Te Reo Maori. And you've been very gracious to try and understand what I was trying to say. But there are a few things that I've started to see, some little baby progress in the way I have moved towards this dream. One of it is, as my brother said, I pastor the Welcome Bay Community Church, and both our congregations are predominantly Pākehā. But our worship team these last couple of years have done such a wonderful thing by introducing Maori worship songs into our services. And that has truly enriched our experiences on Sunday morning. And I think our Christian brothers and sisters are writing some amazing Maori worship songs that are taking us and enriching us into this next level of our walk with God. And so that's one of the baby steps I feel we are taking together. And my dream, of course, would one day be that we would run bilingual services. And if I can get just over, have a few more words more than my introduction, my mihi, that would be good. The other baby steps that I've seen happen in my life is my experiences in Noho Marais. This has been probably one of the most transformational learnings that I've had. I've had a wonderful opportunity through my postgraduate studies with Waikato University, and then just last year with the Wānanga, to have these experiences in Noho Marais. And the marae is one of the most beautiful whare wānangas that we have in Aotearoa, New Zealand. What the marae can do is it immerses you into the worldview, into the culture, into the heart language of the treaty. And so I have found these marae experiences truly enriching and moving me slowly closer to this journey, this dream. Finally, last year, my family, my wife, myself, and my adult children, we signed up at the Wānanga to study basic Te Reo Maori. Now, I know we spent 1 year, and this is all I have. But I want to say this. I know I was the slowest student in the class, but that last year was a tremendous experience to be exposed to this beautiful language and to study Te Ara Reo Maori. So these are the few steps I've taken, and I know they are baby steps, but I feel it is the right direction, and there is movement. And so for me, sitting down and reflecting on Waitangi Day, I want to continue this journey. And for those, especially for those who have migrated here, I'm only a 16-year-old New Zealander. So mind me, I'm a teenager. But I want to encourage all those who have also come here and call this beautiful nation our home. I want to encourage you, use Waitangi Day as a time of reflection and ask ourselves, how much closer are we towards becoming tangata tiriti? And how much closer are we towards our partnership with the tangata whenua? And how much closer are we to this dream of seeing Aotearoa New Zealand being a treaty-centric nation? I want to close with the words of the great prophet Ratna. Please forgive me, I'm going to try and say it in Te Reo Maori. Prophet Ratna said this: Ko te paipera tapu ki taku ringa mato. Ko te tiriti o Waitangi ki taku ringa Maui. The Bible is in my right hand. The treaty is in my left. When I read those words, a penny dropped. This is the unique nature of the Church of Aotearoa. These are our two wings. If the Church of New Zealand wants to fly, they need to spread these two wings. The Bible, the treaty. Not just the Bible. Thank God for the word of God. The psalmist said, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path." And we need light in this journey we are taking. But not just the Bible, the treaty also. And I'm confident of this, that if the Church of Aotearoa New Zealand spreads these two wings, we will experience what the prophet Isaiah said, that we will truly mount up on wings as eagles, and we will run and not be weary, and we will walk and not faint. And the Spirit of the living God himself will be the wind beneath our wings. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora rā. Thank you to Waitangi International, sent me in the whānau for a beautiful wāta there. And also, Pastor Andrew, thank you for your reflections this morning. Some beautiful contemplation there. And yes, I do love the idea and the kōrero that Rātana mentioned around having the Bible and also the treaty in the left hand. Nō reira mihi kauana ki a koe, o tira ki a tātou katoa, I te ata nei mō rena anō. And if you've just tuned into us on the live stream, welcome to our live stream of our Waitangi Day commemorations today here from Whareroa Marae. Nō reira me mihi kauana anō, ki te haukainga, Ngāti Kuku, ngai tūkairangi, tēnei ka mihi, tēnei ka mihi. Tēnei anō, ka tangi atu ki o tātou ma te huhua o te wā, ka tukuna rātou kia haere, haere, haere atu rā. tātou kia tātou, mauri ora kia tātou. So just acknowledging our dearly departed again this morning as we, the living remnants of them, carry on this journey as well here today as we commemorate Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the founding document for our nation. Nō reira, the acknowledgements continue this morning. Nō reira, e mihi kauana ki o tātou mema o pāremata to our members of parliament this morning that we have gathered. Thank you very, very much for coming. Jan Teneri, thank you very much. Simon Bridges, e mihi kauana ki a koe, te uri o Maniapoto. Rāuri Waititi, apanui hoki mai ki tō moana o Tauranga. Also to our Commission Chair of Tauranga City Council, Anne Tolly, tēnei ka mihi ki a koe te rangatira. O tira ki tō tātou mea, the Mayor of the Western Bay of Plenty Council, Gary Webber. Gary, it's great to see you this morning. And Bay of Plenty Regional Council Chair, Doug Leader as well. E mihi kawana ki a koe, Doug. It's great to have you guys up in the early wee hours. Also, paying our respects as well, Western Bay of Plenty Area Commander, Inspector Clifford Paxton, thank you very much. O tira ki o tātou, iwi o te kāinga nei o tauranga mua na Ngāti Rangi Nui Ngai Te Rangi Ngāti Pūkenga, tēnei ka mihi, tēnei ka mihi, tēnei ka mihi. O tira, e rau rangatira mā, nau mai hara mai ki tēnei tō tātou kaupapa, te rā maumahara, te rā o Waitangi. 182 years ago, rangatira Māori who envisioned partnership with Pākehā as a way forward to continue to self-govern and maintain the mana of their lands and of their people, and provide a place also for tauiwi to cohabitate in peace and prosperity. That is what we commemorate this morning. Te tiriti o Waitangi sets us apart, as Pastor Andrew mentioned this morning. It sets us apart from the rest of the world. And it's a unique part of our nation's story. In fact, it's foundational to the nation that we are proud to represent this morning. And it continues to promote the power of partnership, not just with Pākehā, but as you mentioned, with all tauiwi, with all people that look to call Aotearoa home, to uphold the principles therein of Te Tiriti o Waitangi and co-create our future. Nō reira, e mihi kauana ki a tātou, e whakamanahia i tēnei Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Te Tiriti o Waitangi means so much to so many different people and so many things. So part of today's program recognises that diversity, and as such we've included our kaumātua, our rangatahi, our leaders, our international community, our local community and civic leaders as well, tauranga moana, tauranga tangata. And we gather here today, i raro i tērā mana, te mana o te tiriti o Waitangi, tātou katoa, tangata whenua, tanga te tiriti, i runga i te kaupapa kotahi. And so we find again unity here this morning as we commemorate. So, to those that are tuned in online, we are adhering to all COVID restrictions at the moment. We're about at 99 right now with our crowd gathered here. But yes, safe and blessings to you all this morning. So we're going to carry on with our speakers this morning. And we'll head to our city leaders. And we're going to begin with tangata whenua. And so one of our iwi leaders I'd like to call to the front of our forum this morning is Charlie Tāwhiao, Ngai Te Rangi Iwi Chair. Nō reira, e te iwi, a homai te piki paki, anei e te rangatira.
Tēnā rā tātou. Ka tika kia mihi i te tuatahi ki taku pai, e tiwi tēnā koutou. Tēnā rā tātou e te iwi. Aha koa ngā pēhitanga o ngā tau ki muri, kei kona e tonu tātou. Kai ta haere e tonu tātou, aha koa te aha. Nō reira tēnā rā tātou. Waitangi Day is an opportunity for us to reflect and to consider where we're heading. As our brother, Pastor Andrew, spoke of. And for us, for me, the question we ask every year is, are we there yet? And the answer has to be, not yet. But as I listen to kōrero, as I have done over the last few years at Waitangi Day, and as I'm reminded by Pastor Andrew, we are heading there. And something we've got used to in hearing about is building the plane while you're flying it. It is being used to describe some of government's policy around COVID. And we're not strangers to that, because the treaty has been something we've been building while we're flying it. It is a wonderful and absolutely crazy experiment, and we will not stop until we get there. Nō reira, ko tāku kia kōtau, kia ka hara tātou. Let's continue to advance together with courage, with aroha, and with enlightenment. We will get there, but we're not there yet. Nō reira, tēnā kōtau.
Hoa ke tātou. The journey continues. Thank you very much, Charlie, for those words this morning. We now move to the Commission Chair of Tauranga City. Ladies and gentlemen, please assist me to welcome Anne Tolley. Hara mai e te rangatira.
Ina mana, ina reo, ina hoe whā, e te iwi e te motu, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. It's a huge honour to be here with you this morning representing the Tauranga City Council and my fellow commissioners, and I acknowledge Shad sitting there, to celebrate the 182nd anniversary of the signing of Te Tiriti of Waitangi. Te Tiriti has immense importance because it is a living document which guides the way we work together for the benefit of all citizens of Aotearoa. From the Council's perspective, our commitment to the treaty enables us to collaborate with iwi and hapu and take their views into account in all of our decision making. It is therefore essential that we have strong, trusting, and respectful relationships which help us to make good decisions on behalf of the community of Tauranga Moana, and which give effect to the spirit of partnership Te Tiriti was always meant to embody. The Commissioners take considerable pride in the progress we have made in the last year. Iwi representatives with full voting rights have been appointed to our Strategy, Finance and Risk Standing Committee and have made significant and positive contributions to the important work the committee undertakes. And the next time we have local government elections in Tauranga, a councillor will be elected to represent a Māori ward, ensuring that tangata whenua will be represented at the council table for the first time in more than 2 decades. But that is just the beginning. We all know that Tauranga Moana has many pressing issues, not the least being a significant shortage of housing, and in particular affordable and community housing. And we as commissioners are working closely with iwi and hapu to address those issues and maximise the contribution Papakāinga can make to the city's housing availability. We look forward to continuing and further strengthening our relationship with tangata whenua over the balance of the Commission's governance term. Ngā mihi nui, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Tēnā koe, Anne. Ai, me mihi ka tika ki tō tātou kōmihana, kai kōmihana anō, kia koe e Shad e te tuakana tēnei ka mihi, just acknowledging also member of the Commission, Shadrach Wollaston, is here in the whare today. And now moving through to the Western Bay of Plenty Council, ladies and gentlemen, His Worship, Gary Webber. Hara mai rā e te rangatira.
Tēnā koutou katoa, kua tamai nei I tēnei rā o Waitangi. Haere mai tātou mai te whaiwhakoro, mo ta tātou whenua o Aotearoa. Greetings to you all who have gathered here on Waitangi Day. As we gather, we reflect upon our country, Aotearoa, New Zealand. But to begin, I must acknowledge our many dignitaries who have joined us today, especially the Mayor of Matakana, who led us on today, and thank you for that, Hauata. And I'd also like to thank the organisers for giving me the opportunity to speak to you for the last time in my capacity as the Mayor of the Western Bay at a Waitangi celebration. When preparing my words for today, I look back at what I said here, or what I said nearby at Hopu Koiore in 2017 as a new but ageing mayor. On that occasion, I made the point that Waitangi Day is an opportunity for us to stop and reflect on how our nation has progressed from that day in 1840, when our historic treaty was signed, and to look forward in genuine partnership to build a better nation for those who will follow us. In the last 12 years in local government, I've tried my best to walk in the shoes of others and have read much about the past leaders to better understand the full history of Aotearoa, New Zealand. In my readings, I came across the 1907 kōrero of Sir Maui Paumari at the tangi of the celebrated leader, prophet and chief Te Whiti o Rongamai, when he said, "A new condition of affairs has arisen. It is not new, it is old. The Pākehā is not a stranger, he is one with us. Now the Pākehā has come, the iron has taken the place of stone. The old order has changed, your ancestors said it would change. When the net is old and worn, it is cast aside and a new net goes fishing." Another reference to change was made by Sir Aparananata in 1949 when he wrote in the autograph book of his niece Rangi Bennett, "E tupu I rea mauna rā o tāo o ringa, ki na rākau a te Pākehā he ora mau ta tinana, ko te nākau ki nā taonga o tupuna Māori hei tiki mo te mahuna. A ko te wairua ki te atua nana ne inga mea katoa. Thrive in the days destined for you, your hands to the tools of the Pākehā to provide sustenance, your heart to the treasures of your ancestors to adorn your head, and your soul to God to whom all things belong." Once again, the old net has to make way for the new. Dr. Stephen Talfrey, in his 2008 paper titled "Dancing at the Interfaces, Ways of Doing," which is about blending Mātauranga Māori and Western science to create a new way of doing, which in his words he calls Mātauranga Aotearoa, New Zealand. Stephen stated in his conclusion, "The interfaces between Mātauranga Māori and Western science cannot be healthy, vibrant or effective for Aotearoa, New Zealand until they are fully integrated. Integration implies a two-way partnership, requires give and take from both sides. Again, a new net." Again, Te Tauru White also referenced the need for a new net in 2018 when he wrote, "We are on the cusp of significant intergenerational change like no other, fueled in large part by the development and rapid expansion of technology and science, into which our children and grandchildren have been born. The notion of robotics and the impacts of scientific research, while fascinating, can be also scary. Scary to the extent of the unknown. Where are we heading?" So as I reflect on my years as the Mayor of Western Bay, I accept that on October 6th, it is time for this old net to step aside and make way for a new net. In stepping aside, I urge you all to remember that Waitangi Day is about celebrating the coming together of two rich cultures who wanted to build a great nation of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Hei te maiti aho nā te tiriti. I am a child of the treaty. And for the last 12 years, I've tried really hard to understand the history of our district and to find the best solutions following the lines of Stephen Talfrey, Mātauranga Māori, New Zealand. And so in closing, I hope that each and every one of you, when you leave here today, tries really hard to find the best in others, to rejoice in the difference others bring to the kōrero, and finally to focus on building a better nation for the generation who will follow us. If we are purposeful and determined, we can make this nation a better place, if not for ourselves, at least for the future generations who will follow us. We are all of Aotearoa, New Zealand. We are all children of the treaty. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe e te mea e Gary Weber, e te tamaiti o te tiriti, nei ka mihi, nei ka mihi, nei ka mihi. Acknowledgements to you, Gary. And yes, we pay homage as well to the advocating for Māori self-sovereignty, that work that you've carried out in your time at council, and to hear that it is your last speech here at a Waitangi Day. Just want to acknowledge the mahi that you've been a part of for the last term as well. E mihi kauana kia koe e te rangatira. Ka haere tonu ko ngā mihi, ka haere tonu ko ngā kōrero. So carrying on with our speeches this morning, I'd like to welcome the chairman of the Bay of Plenty Regional Council, Doug Leader, to the stand. Nau mai, hoki mai, Doug. Tēnā tātai.
E nā iwi, te iti me te rahi, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora koutou. It's an honour to be here today at the awakening of a new dawn in your beautiful whare, Raru ki tahi. Can I acknowledge firstly the mana whenua of Whareroa and the long and rich history that you have both with the whenua and the moana of this region. Today we celebrate Te Tiriti o Waitangi as the founding document of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and the underlying partnership between tangata whenua and the Crown. So what does it mean today, 2022, and as said previously, 182 years on from the signing of that document? Today, I stand before you as Chair of Toi Moana, Bay of Plenty Regional Council. Yes, it is a legal requirement for us in local government to take appropriate account of the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi in the performance of all our functions that we do and carry out. At Toi Moana, we choose to do this actively, not because we have to and legislation tells us we should do, but because it's simply the right thing to do. So what are the actions that should flow from such a commitment after this period of time? I believe they are few, but they are important. They are values, they are respect, they are relationships delivered with sincerity and good faith. Let's acknowledge the values that you tangata whenua hold and you have held for generations, matauranga and tikanga. They are values beneficial to all of us. Let's respect those values and those views. We may not always agree, but that's kei te pai. But as I said, they are beneficial to all of us. We also need to connect, or some may say reconnect, as a nation, and in our case, as the community of Te Aronga Moana. We need to work on enduring relationships where partnership is more than just going through a process of tangible economic outcomes, but also the intangible, which are lessons learnt and passed down from your tupuna. Let us sit at the table together where Mataranga is recognised and valued alongside conventional, Western and always evolving knowledge systems, so we can plan and we can share decision making together and deliver meaningful outcomes for the future generations of our region. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Tēnā koe Doug e te rangatira. And you're so right. Advocating for the principles within the treaty will give us meaningful outcomes. And that's why we buy into the kaupapa. Not because legislation says so, but because it is the right thing to do, and we'll get the most out of it if we do. Nō reira mihi kauana ki a koe e Doug. Moving to our members of parliament, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and help me welcome Jan Taneri to the stand. Mōrena Jan, hara maira.
Tēnā koutou katoa, tuatahi ka mihi atu ki te mana whenua. Mō ngā karakia, ngā mihi, me te manaakitanga, tēnā koe. Tēnā koutou katoa. And can I acknowledge everyone here and also everyone that's at home. COVID and the threat of Omicron has changed plans for us all across the country. But Waitangi Day is still a day for us to pause, commemorate and reflect on our history. And can I also say thank you to Tauranga City Council and our mana whenua for finding a way for us to do that here in Tauranga. It is important to reflect on where we are currently and the direction that we are headed as a nation. And I acknowledge that Charlie said we're not there yet, but we will get there. When I was a young child, I fear that had we have not changed the way that we were doing things, that we wouldn't have got there. Working in a treaty-based way is the foundation of our nation and our future. And while COVID has impacted us all and changed the way that we do mark today, it has in no way changed our commitments to Māori. As I said, we had to change the way that we were doing things, and I stand proud on the work that we are doing to advance Māori. The establishment of the Māori Health Authority this year will be a landmark moment for Māori health and our approach to health, improving Māori health outcomes. This year, I'm proud that we will mark Matariki as a public holiday, celebrating and recognising the importance of Te Ao Māori. This is an opportunity for us all to further educate ourselves and others of our shared identity and our traditions. Matariki is a time for remembrance, celebrating in the present and looking forward to the future. But the one that I'm really excited about is that resources are being made available for the teaching of Aotearoa New Zealand's histories in schools, recognising and valuing the history of iwi and hapu and creating greater experiences for akonga Māori in education. And I acknowledge Anne and your team and the work, and Gary, and the work that we are doing here locally as well. You talked about some of the areas that we are advancing, but I want to finish with one small, which might seem small to some, but big to others, area that happened in the last year, when some of my ex-pupils at Maryvale petitioned the local council to put the name Tūtara alongside Yatton Park. And I'm so excited to see the signs there now with Tūtara being acknowledged alongside that name Yatton Park. And when I went back to see the young people at the end of the year, I saw excitement in their eyes. I saw a buzz that I hadn't seen for a long time. I've talked on this forum before about identity and how important identity is. But to see those young people have their identity acknowledged was exciting. To see them know that they are being seen was exciting. And to me, that says to me that we are well on the road to realising the expectations and the aspirations of the tupuna who signed that te tiriti all those years ago, expecting protection and partnership. We will get there. Nō reira, ka nui ngā mihi kia koutou katoa, kia tūpato, kia haumaru, Kia kaha rā tātou, mauri ora.
Just a little bit taller. Tēnā koe, Jan. Thank you very much for your words this morning. And also in your reflections as well, it is such an awesome thing to have our history being revived within our curriculum. It's going to be so important, and today's a perfect example of that, 182 years ago. And this part of the story within our history will have a wider reach because of that work as well. A bigger and wider understanding throughout our wider community too for the future generations to come, so that they can advocate for the values that have been upheld within our history as well. Nō reira mihi kauana ki a koe, Jan. Ka haere tonu ko nā kōrero, so as our matapihi kura make their way into the marae, and we are in for a little bit of entertainment as well. I'd like to continue with our speeches this morning and welcome Simon Bridges to the stand this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, e mihi kawana ki a koe te tuakana hoki mai.
Kia ora koutou. It's been a strange time. You know, normally we would be at Hopu Kiori, and probably in normal times I'd be at Waitangi helping yet another new leader. But this year that's not to be, and maybe a reason to be grateful for COVID. But I do hope next year we are back at Mount Drury and at Waitangi. I want to acknowledge the passing of Kihi Ngaitai, and just make clear my regret that I wasn't at the tangi. I think the second to last time I saw him was at Mount Drury, and then at a port function for the retirement of the CE. But he was a great leader and a dignified, distinguished leader. I also acknowledge his whānau Turi here today. And so to Tiriti, tangata Tiriti, as we've heard. I like what Charlie was saying. It was a crazy experiment, and actually born out of enlightenment, albeit that went badly wrong at times, tragically wrong at times. And I can say, having been in government, and maybe Jan empathises, maybe not, but at times it's annoying. At times it's burdensome. But it's also, I think, essential. And I also like what Charlie said. We're not there yet. Maybe we never will be. Because sometimes maybe it's the journey, actually, as much as the destination that matters as we partner, as we understand different perspectives today, whether it was Anaru, whether it was Anne, whether it was Charlie. I've come today with my eldest son, Emlyn. Sorry to call you out, Emlyn, but that's because he's doing a leadership course, and leadership means turning up and thinking about these things and the issues for our nation that matter. You'll be interested to know, though, there was a fight between him and Harry, who's a couple of years younger, because they both wanted to come, but that was because I told them about the whare kai and the kai afterwards, and the bacon, and the mushrooms and the hash browns. And so I'd be lying if I said that's not an attraction. I said that Harry couldn't come, maybe next year because of COVID settings. So it's the journey, not the destination, maybe. And it's an honour to be again on the pie here, speaking at this 182nd Te Tiriti o Waitangi commemoration, I'd say celebration, actually. Tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora, Simon. I say both as well. A celebration as we continue on the journey, as Charlie had mentioned, in a commemoration that the journey did begin 182 years ago. Nō reira mihi kawana ki a koe, Simon. Harry, if you're watching the live stream, I'll have your share of hash browns. Tēnā koe. Now, our last speaker for this part of the program is a Member of Parliament Rāuri Waititi. Nō reira e te tuakana, e te uri o Apanui, hoki mai kia kino moirua, hoki mai ki tō moana o Tauranga, e te uri o te waiariki, ai nau mai hoki mai ki tō wharea no Rauru ki tahi. Hara mai rā. Ladies and gentlemen, Rāuri Waititi.
Morena tātou I tēnei rā, koutou te haukainga, ngā mihi nui ki a tātou, I tēnei rangi moata nei, mea tātou whakarite. Kātia ke, ki ngā tamariki ko tai mai nei, I matapihira, tēnā anō ki koutou. Kei au koutou, kei te kapu o koutou ringa, te whakatina nā tango o tēnei mea te tiriti o Waitangi. Anei kei konei katoa, ko pūteruha o ngā kupenga nei, engari kei au koutou, kei te kapu o koutou ringa, te oranga o te tiriti o Waitangi. It's awesome to be here this morning. And just to acknowledge all the speakers, Pastor Anaru, kei te miha tura ki a koe. And I'm loving that that many of the kōrero that we've been sharing over the last few years is actually making an impact on those who work hard to become better treaty partners. But partnership is not a word that we have in Te Ao Māori. Partnership doesn't exist. And so I take the words of Uncle Api Mahuika, who actually went back to Ngāti Pro to ask his kaumātua about this word partnership. What is the Māori name for partnership? Do we have a word? Is there a concept? And they didn't have one. They couldn't find one. And so partnership is a foreign, it's a foreign ideology, because what it actually meant was democracy. And what is democracy? The tyranny of the majority. Always means that the tyranny of the majority will always rule over those who are the minority. And so I take the words that Brother Anaru has talked about this morning, and that is a tiriti-centric Aotearoa. A tiriti-centric Aotearoa is not an Aotearoa that is based on democracy, but is based on equality. It is based on the true intent that our tipuna signed when we consented for the establishment of kāwanatanga. And so, in my rangatiratanga and my mana motuhake, I am 100% owner of that. In kāwanatanga, I am a 50% owner of that. And until we realize that, Charlie, we are a long way from our destination. And so the journey is going to be long, Simon. The journey is going to be long. But it's not something to be afraid of. It is something to be embraced. And so tangata tiriti is not about colour. Tangata tiriti is about attitude. And the attitude to be better. Tangata tiriti to work alongside tangata whenua. And so I believe it's time for a divorce. How many of you have had a divorce? Put your hands up. How wonderful was that? I don't know, I haven't experienced one. And so, tangata whenua married the Queen of England, who lives miles away. It's a distance relationship. And so, those never work. And so I think it's time for a divorce. People say, if you get rid of the Queen, you get rid of the treaty. Well, if you get rid of the treaty, then you get rid of kāwanatanga. Right? That's not going to happen. What we want is a divorce from the Crown and to have an adult and mature conversation about the rightful place of tangata tiriti sitting in that space. So we want a new relationship. We want to go on a date. Kapai, not a blind date, because we want to know what we're looking at. Kapai? And so we want to go onto a date. But we want to have a mature and adult conversation about tangata tiriti sitting in that particular space. And building a tiriti-centric country, which is based on the principles and the articles of the Treaty of Waitangi, equally sitting at the table, making decisions. We don't want to be considered. We don't want to be consulted. We want to be sitting at the table, making those decisions as equals. That is what a tiriti-centric Aotearoa looks like. It is not democracy, but a tiriti-centric Aotearoa. And I know, once that is realised, it is sitting in this generation. Whether you're tangata tiriti, it's sitting in your mokopuna. With your tangata whenua, it's sitting in your mokopuna. Because we both belong. Because we both belong. Because my tipuna consented to that. Ka pai? This country was not colonized through conquest. Right? It is here by consent. And so we consented to this relationship, and it's time we bring it to its true realization, which is a tiriti-centric Aotearoa. Nō reira ngā tamariki, I've dubbed the next generation. So you've got your baby boomers, put your hand up, baby boomers. Ka pai, ka pai. And then we've got, what is the next one? Gen Z and Gen Y. And then you've got your millennials. Well, I've dubbed the next generation Gen T. And Gen T stands for Generation Tiriti. And so, as the rise of Generation Tiriti comes to the fore, I look forward to reaching, finally, the destination our tipuna dreamed of. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa.
Tēnā koe kei taku tuakana e Rāwiri. What an exciting journey we're on. Divorces, dating. It's another episode of Coronation Street. But a very exciting journey ahead, and it does excite me. The principles that we're talking about within the treaty, when they become the centre of our conversation, like some of our speakers have mentioned, the outcomes are just so much more meaningful, not just for Māori, for the wider community. We have better outcomes when we put those principles and those values at the centre. E mihi kawana ki au koe Rāwiri. Ai kei te haere tonu mai te tira hou nei, Gen T, tēnā koutou. Kapai, we're now going to move to our open forum. It's a forum we hold every year, and it's an opportunity for our whānau to speak on what Waitangi Day means to them. Now, we actually are running pretty good now for time. We've managed to shuffle on these civic leaders' speeches, so we've kind of caught up. But in saying that, if you are thinking of speaking in the open forum, we do have a bit of a time restriction. If you can keep it to 1 or 2 minutes. Now, the timekeeper here at Whareroa Marae is this big giant bell here. So if you get to that point, well, you might have gone a bit too far on your journey. Nō reira, ka wātea te papa I tēnei wā tonu, so our space is open. I know we've identified a few speakers this morning, so I might just call one out, if that's okay. Yeah, it's open forum, but at the moment it's pointing. Leanne! Hara mai e te tuahine. Ladies and gentlemen, Leanne Rolliston, please welcome her to the stand.
Morena tātou, te mea tuatahi me mihi atu ki tō tātou nei tangata whenua Ngāti Ranginui, Ngāti Rangi, Ngāti Pukenga, te whānui o Whareroa, tēnā koutou, nā koutou hei haumaru mai a tātou I te ata nei, nō reira tēnā koutou. Yeah, interesting morning this morning. It's been wonderful to listen to all the speeches. Well done on your times, guys. I remember a few years ago that, yeah. Anyway, I'm on a time too, so hurry up. Much of the things that I was thinking about to speak about this morning have already been said, and that is that these words, freedoms and rights, and thinking about the principles of our tiriti, protection, participation and partnership, and that leads to those kupu, freedom and rights. And it's a trendy word at the moment, and you know, we're all ka tū tonu tātou ki rongi o tātou nei, freedoms me rights. But I was also listening to the kōrero of Pastor Anaru about ko tēnei te kaipituri ki tēnei taha and te tiriti ki tēnei taha. So the Bible and the treaty in these hands, and in the Bible it talks about our freedom and rights in Galatians 5:13, about how those freedoms and rights are for the benefit of others. Kia love thy neighbour. And so when we are standing on tō tātou nei Māoritanga, tō tātou nei tauiwitanga, ahakoa ko wai, ahakoa no hea, we are exercising who we are for the benefit of others, so that we hopefully arrive one day, Matua Charlie, so that we learn along the journey, Simon. So ai, koina taku whakaaro mo te rānei. And I actually woke up this morning thinking about your waiata that you spoke at te whanaunga Rawiri at your maiden speech. Proud to be Māori. I watched that speech and that waiata about 10 times and cried every time. Not just because he's one of our whanaunga from the coast, but because in our who we are and who we are as Māori, and looking at our Generation T, te kuro o Matapihi, and who you are, and who we are, in that proudness, we are benefiting others. We are providing understanding and enlightenment. I heard that word kupu this morning as well. So koina te kōrero mo te rānei, no reira, tēnā koutou.
Tēnā koe, Leanne. Hey, Rawiri, we can't have any more Apanuis here. There's too many of us. They'll start to do something about it. Yeah, tēnā koe, Leanne. He te whanaunga. Ka haere tonu ko nā kōrero, e te iwi. Anei taku matua, te pau kōrero nei, ko Papa George Burt. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen.
Tēnā rā tātou. E tūkawana I runga te roro wharenui a rauru ki tahi. Titiro atu ana ki te maunga tūpuna rā ko Mauao. Te rā tohu o te rangatiratanga o tā tātou atua iho o ngā mano. Ka pere taku titiro ki te tirohanga kanohi. Kei hea rā koutou, e aku pāpā. Kei hea rā koutou, e ngā pau o ngā iwi o te moana o tauranga. Ko koi te rā e koro kihi o ngai te rangi. Me hui kākahu hoki ngā te rangi nui. Me e rā atu pau o tūkairangi ngā te tapu, ko pene takatera, ko Bill. Me tērā karau mōrehu hangarau I rido atu I Wainganui te COVID, ko te karora. E tangi tonu ana, e hala mō rātou, ko wehi atu rā, engari e tangi tonu ana mā tātou, ngā māhuetanga o rātou. Ka huri tako titiro kia tātou, e noho katahi nei I raro I tēnei whakaaro rangatira. E hala tēnei te whakanui o tēnei rā kao, engari he maumaharatanga tonu tēnei rā. E mihi kawana ki o koutou rā e te iwi Māori. Koutou e noho manawa nui, manawa roa hoki I te tainga mai o tēnei mea te karauna hoki me tēnei te tiriti o Waitangi. I stand here and acknowledge the nobility of iwi Māori, their patience and steadfastness. The nobility is reflected in the agreement that we have heard about in this morning's talks. The nobility of that treaty are unique in the world. A nobility reflected in the words of Heni Taratoa, the rules of engagement for the battle at Pukehinahina. A nobility reflected at Rangiaowhia, when after the Battle of Rangiriri, it was suggested to Māori that it was appropriate that the women and children shouldn't be in the pā where the battle is fought. And on that recommendation, the women and children and old people were sent to Rangiaowhia, and Bishop Selwyn was tasked with telling the troops that they should fight at the pā and that the women and children would be safe at Rangiaowhia. But what happened? These are the histories that we need to learn. So we gain the understanding and empathy to carry us forward. We know that those troops, they bypassed the pā and went and attacked the people. They were in their wharekarakia there at Rangiaowhia, and they burnt it. So koina e tahi āhuatanga. These are the histories we need to learn. These are my examples I give of nobility. But it wasn't the coming of the Pākehā to New Zealand that brought the change. There is a new spiritual refreshment moving in creation. If we think of the last 100 years, we have seen tremendous change. We can see that now we fly. In the last 100 years, radio was born, radio, TV, and computers. What has brought this incredible change? There's been a similar amount of change in the last 20 years. If we look at this technology, I couldn't have even imagined this when I was a young person. So there's a new change moving in the world. Our present forms of government, and we see here in Tauranga how our present models of engagement are failing us. We see that Parliament, and we all know the joke that the president election in America had. Engari, waiho tērā te kitataha. Te ahua nei tatana te tangi a te pere. Ka tika rā, ka mutu wako pahupahi ki runga i nei kupu karakia. So my time is up, but let me finish with these words of prayer. E tōku atu, a whakotko te haitia ngā kau o au pononga ha whakamāramatia i te pūtakia o tikanga. Ka whai rātou i o whakahau a kia noho pūmau i roto i au ture. E ihoa a whinatia i tā rātou whai a whakakaha rātou kia tū he pōno ngā mau. E ihoa kaua hei waihoko rātou ana ki engari haratakina ho rātou tapua i mā te māramatanga o toho mātauranga. Whakamāmātia o rātou whatu manawa mātoa roha pūmau tūturu kokoi tō rātou āwhina tō rātou ariki. Brief translation. O my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavours and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily thou art their helper and their Lord. Kia ora tātou e tauana.
Tēnā koe kei taku pāpā e Papa George, e mihi kau ana ki a koe mō kupu aroha mo te kaupapa nei. O tira o kupu āwhina i te tangata. Nō re mihi ana. Moving forward now, another of our tuakana, e te rangatira Alistair. Tēnei anō te mihi atu ki a koe, ka toro atu anō ki a koe, kia hara mai, kia kōre no tahi mai tātou anō i te ata nei. Hara mai rā e te rangatira. Alistair Rees, ladies and gentlemen.
Ma tātou o waka, nai te rangi, nai tūrairangi, Ngāti Kuka, ko tēnei te mihi ki a koutou, mō tō pouheri ki a mātou e tēnei rā hira hira. Ai, big surprise. Thank you for the invitation for me to make a few words. But there is a couple of thoughts that I'm having around this, Josh. Some awesome kōrero this morning. One of the things that I remember is in 1934, in a strange irony, we had a Governor-General, Lord Bledisloe, and the land of Waitangi, the whenua there, had come into his family's ownership. Very ironic. Anyway, he had a prick of conscience, and in a very profound moment, he and his family made arrangements for the gifting of the whenua of Waitangi to the crown. And anyway, when they had the opening ceremony at that time in 1934, this is what he said. He turned to all those that gathered and he said, "Let this be a tatau paunamu for us all." He said, using a concept that someone had obviously taught to him about Haue Te Rango, this reconciliation, he said, "Let this Waitangi be a doorway of reconciliation for us all." So that's been a real po for me, and I want to just finish moving into the kōrero that has come from Rawiri and also from Anuru. I think it might have been Tā Eri Jury was one of the first people who used the kōrero e pāna ki te tangata tiriti. Ka ki ia, kawea wariwari, he says to his people, don't forget that the treaty is not just a treaty for tangata whenua, it's a treaty for Pākehā also. And I would also suggest to that it's not just Pākehā, but it's, as Anuru has said, that all those visitors, those tauiwi that actually enter through the waharo of Waitangi, that it is a treaty for them too. So that, I think, is the big movement that Rawiri is talking about, is that we need to understand us as tauiwi, as Pākehā, as Nonga Haue Whā, that if we enter through the doorway of Waitangi, and all of that, whatever that means, and that's a big issue, but if we enter through that doorway, as our mokopuna, our tamariki enter through that doorway, then it becomes a treaty not only for tangata whenua, but also for ngā tauiwi mā. Kua mutu ana nei, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
I knew putting Alistair on the spot would get us some good kōrero this morning. Thank you very much, Alistair. And so important as well, a key word there in your message, I identified as reconciliation. And today is a part of that. When we think of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, we know there is a lot of work around reconciliation to still happen on this long journey we've got ahead of us. Nō reira, ka mutu tēnei wāhanga. Nō reira, ka tukuna ki te waiata, te rōpū nei Waiata International Group, who are going to close this time with a waiata, and then I understand they're going to share a few more waiata with us this morning. So to our whānau that are tuned in from home or wherever you are on the live stream, we've now got some entertainment this morning. Tēnā tātou, Waiata International, tēnā koutou.
Morena Koto. We're from a group of international people representing the church as well, but also come from other parts of the country that live here now to join the journey. And we have come all the way just for this from our country. Yeah, so representing our country, we will start with from Korea, and then Malaysia, and then Philippines, and then we have Brother James with us from Cameron Road. Yes, so we're here to celebrate, to commemorate, and yeah, that's what happens in Marae, and then we overate. Yeah, so we thank you. We would like to sing and offer you this song. Yeah, the white.
An enthusiastic and skilled group of musicians and singers from throughout the Pacific and Asian nations and Aotearoa who have come together especially for Waitangi Day, ladies and gentlemen, the Waiata International Group. Can we have another round of applause for them this morning? Ka pai. Anō reira, we just finished talking about Generation T and the kōrero from Rāori, about the excitement ahead and the journey for Te Tiriti o Waitangi and everything it represents. And this is the generation to come to embody those values. Another of our young individuals who embodies those values and who is our rangatahi speaker this morning. I think a lot of people refer to the coming generations as the leaders of tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome a leader of today to the pai this morning, to the speaking platform. Kei taku tuakana e aukaha. Ladies and gentlemen, also the rangatahi Parliament representative for Rāori Waititi, Rāori Waititi 2.0, anei ko Aukaha Kakau. Aukaha Kakau Dixon, I should say.
E te kai whakarite hōhua tēnā koe, e taku rangatira, e taku pāpā, nei e mihi nei ki a koe. E whakahaere nei, e hautu nei tō tātou kaupapa tēnā koe. Ka hoki nei au ki te tai rāwhiti kei tauranga rā, ko ngai te rangi, ko Ngāti Ranginui, ko Ngāti Pūkenga. Ho ngā pāpaka o rangataua, mai whareroa, ki maunga tā pūputa noa ki te rere atu kāhia. Tauranga moana, tauranga tangata. Ho rauru ki tahi e tū nei hei tā wharautanga mo tō tātou kaupapa I tēnei rangi nei, tēnā tātou. Just like the Māori Party in Parliament, I only get 5 minutes today. So I'll try and keep it brief. Ko te kaupapa I tuari tia ai. Hang on. Yes, better. Ko te kaupapa I tuari tia ai, hei wete māku ko tēnei. The kaupapa that was texted to me only mere minutes ago is this. What are the struggles faced by the rangatahi of today, 182 years on? Nā ko whakahāngaitia te kaupapa nei ki tētahi take e pānui nei ki ngā rangatahi o tēnei wā. I have aligned this kaupapa to a specific take that still trumps the rangatahi of today. That is the expression of creative individuality within meeting expectations and all that sort of stuff. So, hei whakataki ake ngā kōrero, kauaka rā, te rā tapu e taupuru aiho. Don't let the dark world dim your creative shine. Kauaka rā, te rā tapu e taupuru aiho. 32 years ago, we saw the establishment of Toi Haukura, a place where budding artists could thrive and express their creative individuality through fine arts. 52 years ago, about the same age as Mr. Waititi over there, 52 years ago, we saw the establishment of Toi Whakaari, a place where up-and-coming performers could thrive and express their creative individuality through performing arts. We also saw the establishment of Te Wānanga o Raukawa, Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, Te Whare Wānanga o Awanuiarangi, and Te Whare Takiura, institutions where young scholars could thrive and express their creative individuality through the dissemination of the esoteric knowledge bases from around the country. And after 182 years of pondering and answering the same questions, the question we are faced with now is, what's next? What will we do to make life easier for future rangatahi, so that they have the opportunity to make significant contribution to their chosen field, so that they have the opportunity to be themselves in a world whose odds have been turned against them, so that they have the opportunity to express their creative individuality free of restriction and judgment. We also recognize the difficulty that this will bring. However, I believe we are determined to give our uri a better future than our present, lest we waste the blood, sweat and tears felt on this marae and marae across the nation. Therefore, I challenge everyone here to ignite or reignite that spark that lay dormant in so many of our people. We must endeavor to find avenues so that we can express the creative individuality that lives inside each of us in turn sparking our flame into a roaring fire that is ready to take on the next 182 years. The decisions we make today will have a lasting impact and impression and will be talked about in time by Gen T I kororo tiara e taku rangatira. So to answer the what's next, we have the ability to change the world, so therefore we must create a safe environment for our uri to be able to express their creative individuality, much like the great institutions aforementioned, and ultimately let them shine their light so that the world is a lot brighter than what it is at 8:15. Creativity encircles the world. Knowledge is finite, there is a beginning and an end. Creativity encircles the world around us. It finds a way to motivate and inspire. It finds a way to encourage and raise up. It is infinite. It is limitless. It is inside each and every one of us here today. Kawea te kura nui, kia kura roa, kei kura tawhiti, huri kau, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa e heke ana.
Aukaha likes to express his creative individuality in words. He is quite the wordsmith, an accomplished speaker. In fact, winner of a few manu kōrero competitions, a speaker on our pai. And as I mentioned, a young leader within our community in mihi kauana ki a koe Aukaha. Kia kaha koe kei roto i tēnei tūmomo mahi, kei mui a koe i tēnei tau. Ko ngā kōrero kei roto i te pāremata. Whai atu anō i te tapu ai a Rāuri mā, kia pai anō tō noho ngā kairoto rā e hoa e mihi kauana ki a koe. O tira ki o tātou rangatahi. And our rangatahi, or Gen T, as Rāuri had referred to, are the centre of focus now. So ladies and gentlemen, will you please help me to welcome our kura, te kura o Matapihi. It's an honour and privilege to have our tamariki from te kura o Matapihi here with us today. To entertain us this morning, and also so we can hear and see and feel a little bit of that creative individual expression that Aukaha had aforementioned. Nō reira, kia koutou, e ngā tauira i ngā pia o te kura o Matapihi, e te kapahaka o te kura o Matapihi, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our national representative kapahaka teams for te mana kuratahi, anei, te kura o Matapihi. raised in Matapi, so I'm not sure if that's a big enough clap. Let's give them another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. E mihi kauana ki a koutou, Generation Tiriti, Gen T. Our rangatahi, ko koutou ke, ko te ao pōpō, ko koutou ke, ko te naia nei no reira, e mihi kauana ki a koutou, tō oro nō runga, te korokoro tui, i te ata tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou te kura o Matapi. O tira ki a tātou katoa. Before we close off our proceedings this morning, just want to reiterate our acknowledgements, especially to our kuia and kaumātua, our esteemed elders that have made it here this morning, that have probably been to 182 commemorations and continue to show us how to come together and carry our kaupapa forward into the future. Nō reira, mihi kauana ki a koutou, e aku kaumātua, e aku kuia. O te marae nei ngā tikuku ngai tūkairangi, whare roa hau kāinga tēnā koutou. Koutou I tuwhera mai I tēnei marae, I ngā āhuatanga katoa, te Kōwhiori-19, e horapa ake nei. Tēnā koutou I tō koutou māia, I tō koutou manua nui ki te kaupapa o tira ki a tātou. Nō reira mihi kauana, ki te pai tapu, o tira ki a koutou katoa, kua huitahi mai. To all of you that have been gathered here this morning, our distinguished guests, our members of parliament, our civic leaders, thank you very, very much. To our Waitangi International Group, it's great to have you here and to further see that multicultural Aotearoa that te tiriti inhibits, e mihi kauana ki a koutou. O tira ki a tātou katoa I te āhuatanga o tēnei rangi, te rā maumahara, te rā o Waitangi, anō reira tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. O tira ki a koutou, e tū hono mai nei, mārunga I te ipurangi, te pāpāho mataora tēnā koutou. To those that are tuned in on our live stream, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Ko tēnei ke te āhuatanga o te wā, until we can get back to a little bit of normality and hopefully return, as Simon said, to hopu kia ore, to carry on our usual proceedings each year. But we've made this happen this morning, and thank you very much for tuning in and joining in with the commemorations. Nō reira, mihi kauana ki a tātou. So we'll ask everybody to be standing as we invite our pōtoro Charlie Rahiri this morning to come and close our proceedings. Tēnā koe te tuakana, tēnā tātou I te ata nei.
Tēnā tātou. Just very quickly, I was sitting there during that waiata and that beautiful manu tioriori reo ororeka, and remembering the Waitangi days of past when we had korokehi, when we had koro morehu, when we had Uncle Tame, when we had Kiritoha, when we had all of our kaumātua sitting on the paipai, and certainly Hui Kākahu as well, who guided us and kept us on point. And yeah, well, we're it. Nō reira, kia tātou katoa. Just very quickly about the plane, Charlie, that's a beautiful analogy. And as we were entering the whare this morning, the marae this morning, I said to Rawiri, and tuatahi mai mihi atu ki te hahi o te matua tangata, tō tātou nei tuakana hahi te hahi ringatu. O te rā te hahi o tō tātou nei kingi, te pai marire. That there are three matapono that we have synergy with each other as hahi Māori. Of course, our faith-based ideologies and worshipping I hoa, but also Māori mana motuhake, te reo Māori, and te tiriti o Waitangi. Those are the three principles of our hahi that form the foundations of who we are. Nō reira kia tātou katoa. And remembering those kloa, we remember what they say, said about reconciliation, about reverence, and about remembrance. And that colonial amnesia precedes colonial erasure that can only be recovered by the sheer force of those who never forget. Nō reira kia tātou katoa, kua hui mai. It is for Emlyn, it is for our tamariki that we gather here today, so that we can, it's not our fault that the plane was built the way it is, and we're all adding to that plane, but it is our responsibility to deconstruct the class systems in that plane, so there's no longer a first class that's unreachable to us. There's no longer a business class. Oh, hang on. After my next trip, you can take that out. But no longer a business class. but that we're all sharing the same space on that plane and we're all contributing to building it. Nō reira, ring the bell. All right. Ka huri atu ki aku kuia ki ngā reo rorika o te kwaia, mā te mari. Ka tira kia whai kroria hari ruia kia i hoa o ngā mano matua tama wairua tapu me ngā anehero pono me te māngai. Tatu ake ki te whare ka hui ari ki wairua te arepa te ome ka piriwiri tua hāmura kotua no te māngai ki roto hei tautoko mai. Nō reira ka tahuri anō mātou ki o koto nei ringa whina i tēnei wā. Whitikina mai o koto nei tō mairangi ata whai ki runga ki tēnei mininga. O tira ki runga kia mātou nei whānau huri noa te motu tai no kia rātou e ngoi kore ana e māwiwi ana tatu ki te manawa pauri te manawa mamai. Aha koa ngā whakamātau tau o te ao e noho nei tātou kia noho haumaru mātau i raru e o koto nei piringa. Nō reire e te māngai ngā anehera pono e te tokotori tapu. Whakarongo i hoki tēnei reo whakamoi miti o mātau. Kia pā mai tō ringa ta whai ki runga kia mātau i tēnei wā. Whakatūwhera mai te kua o te tika o te pono o te māramatanga. Mai ngā no kia ki tai tātou te whānuitanga o tō koto nei arohanoa. Nō reira ho mai te piki te ora, te kaha, te māramatanga ki runga kia mātau o tira kia tātou kua karahui hui mai i mua koto nei aroaro. Ko koutou rā tō tātou nei piringa, tō tātou nei pākaha, i noe kahati nei mātou kia koutou. Whakaungi mai mātou ki roto i te arohanoa, pai here tia te rangi mārie i ngā wā katoa. Mana no te māngai ki roto hei tautoko hei tūturu hei pūmau. Aia nei, ake nei, ai.
Kia ora Charlie, e mihi kauana ki a koe, i whakakapi tō tātou kaupapa i te tika i te pono, nā runga no i ngā kupu aroha ki tō tātou atua i tēnei wā tōne, e mihi kauana ki a koe Charlie. O tira, kia tātou katoa, so just acknowledging Charlie and bringing our time to fulfillment this morning. But of course, to complete our proceedings, we will head in for a kai, hei whakanoa i a tātou i tēnei wā tonu. So to our whānau that are tuned in online, this is the time where you go and make yourself a cup of tea and a toast. Thank you very much for joining us in our proceedings this morning. Noho ora koutou i te aroha no te atua I tēnei wā tonu. No reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. To our whānau that are gathered here this morning, our whare kai calls to us and beckons to us to enter and to sustain ourselves and kai together and fellowship together. However, that together will be in groups of 12, I have been told. So as you group yourself, can we please see our dignitaries over to the whare kai in that first cohort? No reira, tēnā koutou, kei te haukainga, tēnā koutou, kia tātou katoa, tēnā tātou, e tauana. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.